My name is Tiffany, and this is my story. It wasn't the first time I've experienced racism, but probably the most recent time I've experienced racism. Um, it was in the workplace. My boss, it was a very small law office that I was working at as a paralegal. I was the only black female there. She only hired females, period. But I didn't realize that I would be walking into racism. I remember going through training with the guy who was a temp before me, and he was training me so that he could leave and go off to college. Like I said, being the only black person there, it was kind of intimidating. The rest were attorneys. So instead of me having an office like the other paralegals, I was made to sit at the front desk like I was a receptionist. Not only that, the attorneys would expect me to clean up after them. So I had to do their dishes. I had to pick up. One of the most disturbing things for me was when one attorney would lay her dishes outside of her office on the floor so that I would have to pick them up and carry them into the kitchen. I spoke to the owner, which was my boss, all of our bosses about it, and she made it known that that is what is expected of me. But it was not expected of the other paralegals. So I could clearly identify that I'm being singled out because of my skin. I stayed there, and a lot of people would say, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you file a grievance? Whatever the case may be. But there are also, if a company doesn't have so many employees, there's not really much that you can do. If they have to have over 15 in order to be regulated by the state or the federal government as far as any type of anti-discrimination, equal opportunity employer thing. And I needed a job. So I continued to stay there and continued to be harassed and seemed to be made like I could never do enough. My work was never good enough. I remember getting emails that said that I was an embarrassment, that I need to check with her about the things that I send out prior to me sending them, because what I'm sending is embarrassing. None of the other employees on my level had to deal with her saying these things to them. And the only thing that I can think of is because of my skin color, that I was made to feel inferior to other employees. It didn't stop there. Like I said, I stayed, and one of the last straws for me was I became ill and was having some issues with joint pain and whatever the case may be. And she asked me to go to the courthouse on my way to work to deliver or to file some paperwork for a client. Our normal routine is that we would send a carrier. It does cost the client some money when we do that, but that is the normal routine. But instead she asked me if I would go. I felt like I had to, so I did. There was no courthouse park. There was no parking on the street. So I had to park in a garage a couple of blocks away and walk in pain. And then she says to me, she sends me a text message, "What's taking you so long?" Mind you, there are other more well-capable people in our office who could have done it. We could have sent a carrier to do it. When I got back to the office, she embarrassed me in front of clients to say, "Why did it take you so long? Where have you been?" As if I'm stealing company time, as if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. So that coupled with how I had been treated prior, having to make her coffee and serve her and do these things and answering the phones and all of these things that I was made to do that others in my position were not, I felt like I had no recourse because of the racism that was going on in our office. Not only that, but I think what struck me the most was that she claims to be a Democrat. She claims to be open-minded, and so in my mind, I'm battling with, is she really being racist, or is she just being hard on me? And it was more than just being hard on me. It had to be the color of my skin. Yeah, trying to give her the benefit of the doubt was hard because she gave me an opportunity. In the end, so I felt like, okay, I'm here for a reason. But then I also understood that it wasn't just me. Even the other women that she hired never looked like her. So she's white Jewish woman, dark hair, dark eyes, and the white women that she would hire would usually be blonde haired women, blue eyes. So it wasn't just, I began to see a pattern when other black women would come in to interview. It was always, they were never good enough either. They didn't dress well. They weren't as well put together. They didn't speak as well as she thought they should speak. And that was one thing that she often did, was she corrected my speech. She corrected my grammar all the time. So I began to question my own self in my mind, like, am I smart? I have a master's degree. Did I earn this, or did they give it to me? So it wasn't just, I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. She's well known in the community. And I remember her even, there was a potential client that came in one time and he had on a Make America Great Again hat and she refused to see him. So it was kind of me battling her staunch, disdain for Trump and Republicans and right-wingers and conservatives, and then how she was also treating me. So I was battling with that in my mind. Yeah. I think this country has made it so that we have to depend on certain industries, especially if you never grew up around entrepreneurs. You're taught that, you go to college and you go into the workforce and you get a job, and you're told that you have to be twice as good and you have to do more and you have to, yes, massa. We're taught that, you just put your head down and you do your work. And that's what I believed. So I didn't think that it was necessary for me to leave right off until it became to be too much. I went to her and asked several times, like, I want to be promoted. Like, I don't want to, you want me to do my job and to be a receptionist. But why don't we hire someone? She's like, no, I don't think I'm going to hire anybody else. So it's just, it makes it uncomfortable even when you speak out to try to take up for yourself. And it's just like, is this the way that it is? I've experienced racism in other workplaces, mainly in corporate America, where you're usually the only black or there's only, one or two of us in a group of maybe 30 or 40. So it does make you feel like you just have to take it. You have to bear it. And oftentimes it's that really passive aggressive racism that we endure. So it was like, do I stay and deal with the devil that I do know, or do I go somewhere else and deal with it somewhere else? I don't think, there's not many places where we don't experience racism. I remember going to, and this is just one of those ways that people don't know that they are racist or discriminated against someone based on their race. I remember being on a farm with my ex-husband. It was his employer, in Kentucky, and they were really, really nice people. And they invited us over for dinner one night, and the owner's mother says something like, "Bless your cotton picking heart." And they don't understand that those things, those phrases are rooted in racism. Those phrases are rooted in, slavery. And it's not a term of endearment. It's not anything that's sweet. It's very offensive. But that's what we have. That's some of the type of racism that we deal with today. Is those people who look down on black people, black and brown people, who say, here, I did this to help them because they're looking down on them. Not, I should do this because I've had a head start. I've had a 400-year head start, and let me help you to get to where I am. It's more of a, oh, bless your cotton picking heart, and very disingenuous. So even today, I watched a video of a local pastor, white pastor, who his way of speaking out against police brutality was to bring up how they help the black community because of poverty. And it's just like, that's still racism, and they don't get it. And it's hard to explain in a way that they'll understand it, but it's never, you never want to do something to say, look what I did for black people. Look how I helped them because of poverty, when they're telling you, no, this is not the issue. The issue is police brutality, how the police are profiling black and brown people. Your passing out food baskets has nothing to do with ending racism. No, they don't get it. Oh, we sponsored so many people from Africa, and it's just like, yeah, that's not it. Until you can put yourself in our shoes, and to say, and it's not even really saying Black Lives Matter, because now it's becoming trendy. So it's really wanting to sit down and learn and listen and have the conversation, and going and not sharing with black people what you're doing. It's going and having conversations with your white friends and saying this is wrong and calling them out on it when they're exhibiting discriminatory behavior or racist behavior.